Hello, Buns, and welcome back to Cinnabun Sundays, our weekly video series where we talk about all things bunny. I'm Morgan, Cinnabun's bun mom, and today I am going to tell you how much it really costs to have a pet rabbit. Last week, I did a video all about everything that you need to have before you bring a rabbit home and all the things you're gonna need to own in order to have a rabbit. So I thought that today kind of is a little bit of a part 2 to last week's video. We could really break down how much it's actually going to cost you to buy a rabbit, how much your upfront cost is gonna be, but then also look into how much it really costs monthly to own a rabbit. There's definitely a stigma about rabbits that they're a starter pet and they're cheaper and they're easier to take care of, when in reality, that's not true. So before you bring a rabbit home, it's really important that you fully understand the financial burden that it is to bring a living being into your life. Now, before we get started, I do want to make a couple of disclaimers here. One, I'm going to be talking very much from my own personal experience, so how much I spend on the products that I buy. I'm going to try to generalize a little bit, but a lot of this is going to be based off of what I personally am buying, but those are also things that I am recommending to you, so it probably should match up. 2, these numbers are just for one rabbit. I own one rabbit, Cinnabun. She is 4 pounds. She is a 𝒒𝒊𝒏𝒌𝒔. So if you have a larger rabbit, if you have multiple rabbits, these numbers are going to shift a little bit, but hopefully you can just kind of get a general idea for what it really takes to own a rabbit and how much that's going to cost you. Let's get started with the upfront costs of owning a rabbit. These are things that you really just need to pay for one time, and typically it's in the first 6 months of your rabbit's life. So this is right off the bat what you need to budget when you're bringing a rabbit home. First off, the cost of the rabbit. Cinnabun, I got her from a backyard breeder. I've talked about our story before. Not an ideal way to get a rabbit, but she was about $50. Average cost of an adopted rabbit from a shelter is anywhere from like $35 to $50, but if you're buying from a fancy breeder, that can be upward of $100. So I'm gonna speak from my own experience here and say cost of rabbit is $50. So now that you are buying the rabbit, let's talk about setting up their space. Hopefully their habitat you're not really needing to replace often, so these are typically one-time expenses or expenses you will only incur once or twice in your rabbit's life. The first thing that is absolutely essential to bringing home your rabbit is a litter box for them. Our favorite litter box is about $25, and I think this is pretty standard. Now you can go over the top and buy really fancy boxes to keep your litter box in. Just the general price of a litter box is about 25 bucks. And then when you are potty training your rabbit and teaching them how to be free roam, you're gonna wanna have an exercise pen. It's also nice to have an exercise pen if your rabbit is ever sick. If you do bring a second rabbit in and you need to bond them, an exercise pen is just really useful to have, even if your rabbit is fully free roam. And those can be more expensive. I think the one that we bought was about $40. You also are going to be buying bunny proofing supplies, because if you have a free roam rabbit, there is not a chance that you are going to get away without bunny proofing. Bunny proofing supplies can look like a lot of different things. It can be baskets to put your cords in, cord protectors that cover the cords to keep them from biting them. It can be covers for your sofa. It can be little rugs to protect areas of the floor. It can be NIC grids to block certain areas off from your rabbit. So this can really vary in price. So let's just say an average price is about $50, at least upfront, for bunny proofing supplies. Next up, you need to groom your rabbit quite frequently, so you'll need a brush and clippers. That adds to be about $25. In a rabbit's habitat, you need to have some type of hide for them, and this is another thing that can vary wildly in price. But if you were just to look up a very simple hide on Amazon, on the internet, you're gonna find one for about 20 bucks. How are you gonna bring your rabbit home? You need a carrier for your rabbit, not just to bring them home, but anytime you do need to travel with your rabbit and anytime you take them to the vet, you absolutely need a carrier. A standard hardcover carrier is about $40. Once again, this is something where you can really spend a lot more on it, but to get you started, it's probably a good idea to think about spending about 40 bucks on a carrier. And then the last thing in this category is you need to get your rabbit spayed and neutered. Now, a benefit to getting an older rabbit or a shelter rabbit is they are already spayed and neutered typically, but if you have a baby bunny who has not been, this is a very big expense up front. Unfortunately, spays are just a lot more invasive for the female rabbits, and a neuter is a lot faster. That means the spay is usually more expensive. Some places keep your rabbit overnight, which costs money, and then also the city that you're doing it in can affect the price too. I paid about $600 for Cinnabun spay, and she stayed at the vet for 2 full days, and I also got it done in Arlington, Virginia, which was right outside of DC, so it was just very expensive in general. Other areas though, where if you're getting a neuter, it can be closer to like $300, so I'm just gonna say let's meet somewhere in the middle. Let's say in your head, be prepared for like $450 for a spay or neuter. So right off the bat, not including any of their food, any of their monthly expenses, that is $700 right there that you are going to need to put out as soon as you get your rabbit or within the first 6 months of rabbit ownership. Now let's discuss monthly expenses. These numbers are really based off of what I spend personally on Cinnabun every single month. And again, these are the things I recommend to you guys. So if you follow our videos and you take a lot of our advice, this is probably what your breakdown of costs is going to be as well. First up, if you have not seen yet, we did an entire Bunny Proof Busters video on pet insurance. Is it worth it? Is it not? And at least for us, I realized that it was worth it. So I now spend $30 a month for pet insurance on Cinnabun. If you want to know everything that pet insurance covers, please go watch that video. I do such a deep dive there, and it's going to be a lot more useful for you to watch that and get an understanding for the cost there. But just know that I am spending $30 a month on pet insurance. Now, hay is something that can be really hard to price, but I have pretty consistently either fed Cinnabun small pet select hay or oxbow hay, and I think the price is pretty consistent on both of those. It's about $40 a month. Now, Cinnabun does not eat a lot of pellets, but she does eat pellets every day. And the bag that I buy of her pellets is very large. And it's about a $30 bag, but that lasts me like 3 months. So we'll say $10 a month on pellets. Cinnabun also has a salad every single morning, and that is just spring mix that I buy from the grocery store. So that's about $5 a week, so $20 a month. I would also anticipate spending about $15 a month on toys. Rabbits' teeth are always growing, so they absolutely need things to be chewing on all of the time. You can definitely like make some toys last longer than others, but I would say to, in your mind, be prepared to spend about $15 a month on toys. I do not give Cinnabun a ton of treats, but if I am giving her treats, it's either forage or dandelion root, and both of those bags cost about $15, but that lasts us about a month, so $15 a month on like treats and snacks. I also give Cinnabun a digestive biscuit every single morning. The pack I buy comes with about 30 of them, so it's like a month's supply of vitamins essentially for her, and that is also $15. And then lastly, I always put paper bedding in Cinnabun's litter box, and the paper bedding we buy is about $30 a month as well, but it's a huge bag. So that $30 is just a one-time purchase each month, and we use that every single morning. So that makes my monthly Cinnabun expenses $175 a month. Yikes. Now lastly, I just want to have a little miscellaneous section in here to have a couple more expenses that you want to be prepared for, but they're not really monthly, they're not really one time, they're just things that could happen. The first thing being wellness checks for your rabbit. A wellness check is where you take your rabbit to the vet and they look at their ears, look at their teeth, look at their stomach, just make sure everything's good. It's like a physical for them. Our wellness checks cost about $70, and unfortunately they are not covered by insurance, and I really try to do that once a year. Also, pet sitters. I am lucky enough where my dad pet sits Cinnabun, which is so kind of him, but before I moved to Charlotte, I would have to pay friends or people to come and look after Cinnabun, and I paid them about $20 a day. So if you are traveling and you don't have someone who will do it for free, you're gonna have to pay someone to look after your rabbit. And I have to say this, any rabbit owner can back me up here because this is something you need to prepare for: charging cables. If you own a rabbit, you are going to have to say goodbye to some cables in your life. No matter how much bunny proofing you do, no matter how safe you are, you're gonna leave a cable on the ground and your bunny is just like a moth to a flame. And charging cables can be expensive. Like an Apple phone charger is like $20. She has eaten a laptop charger and those are like $100. So I'm telling you, budget that in because it will happen to you. And that is me exposing my spending habits on Cinnabun, and I hope that this was useful for you. Know that this is very personal to me, and I'm very privileged to be able to afford these things and treat Cinnabun in such a fabulous and spoiled way. There are ways to make this a little bit less expensive, and there are also ways to make this much more expensive so you can kind of adjust it to your own lifestyle. But hopefully these numbers can give you an idea of what you're going to be spending on your rabbit when you get them, and if you want to keep them alive. I hope this video was helpful for you, and if you are embarking on rabbit ownership, I am so excited for you. And with that, I will see you in our next video. Bye, Buns!